Hi everyone, my name is Tom Beyer, and I'm a certified personal fitness trainer and yoga teacher. And I'd like to welcome you to these Exercises for Life. This program is an invitation to give this great gift to ourselves, the gift of lifelong exercise and the quality of life this helps ensure. The workout options presented here include various forms of weight or resistance training and a wide variety of whole body movements and stretching. If done regularly, they do wonders in helping to improve our overall health and well-being, our muscle tone, strength, and joint support, our stamina, endurance, and vitality, our circulation, posture, flexibility, and balance, and even our mental and emotional clarity and inner sense of relaxation. We plain old feel better and give ourselves the best chance at living a long, healthy life when we get good, regular exercise like this. And how good it is, truly, to love and care for our bodies in such a way for as long as we can. So, before beginning any exercise program, it's good to get the okay from your doctor if there is any question regarding your present capacity to exercise. This is especially true if there are any pre-existing medical or physical conditions or precautions, any recent or upcoming surgeries, any serious illnesses or medication-related issues that would warrant any restrictions, or any specific do's and don'ts. If there are such concerns in your case, it's good to get together with a qualified fitness trainer, physical therapist, or rehabilitation specialist to help guide you through whatever exercises would be appropriate for your situation. And if you find that some of the exercises here seem too difficult or risky to do currently, that's okay. There's still a wide variety of workout options in this entire program for you. So, as you follow along with the exercises here, or while doing any kind of workout, the important thing is that you go at your own pace and do the exercises that you feel safe and confident in doing at that particular time, going at a pace that is suitable for your current health and fitness level, your strength, stamina, and flexibility level. And as you embark or continue on this adventure of improving your physical fitness and overall health and well-being, I encourage you, if you haven't already, to read the Introduction and Exercise Guidelines section on my website, fitatanyage.com, to give you a more complete understanding of all that's being presented here. With some of my favorite music on, here we go, starting with squats with various arm motions. These and the next dozen or so movement exercises can serve as a warm-up to any workout routine, as well as exercises we can do by themselves at any time and as often as we'd like. We can do these in and out of a chair if need be, which I'll demonstrate in a moment, as well as always having a chair nearby to rest in whenever we need to. With this first movement, we're taking the arms from in front of the body out to the sides, spreading our wings and arching back when we're all the way upright out of the squat. And with the second arm motion, we're taking our arms out to the sides and then up above the head in a big circle. And while doing any kind of squat, we want to maintain a correct squat form by keeping the torso leaning forward, with the head up and back straight, our hips going back behind the heels, which keeps the knees directly over the ankles and feet, and the knees better protected and safe. And in the third movement, we're taking the arms straight back and then forward and up above the head as we come up on the balls of our feet as well. So we're moving the whole body to warm and loosen the muscles, connective tissue, and joints while elevating the heart rate and pace and depth of our breathing. And how good it is to breathe fully and freely as we move and loosen up and strengthen. And here are the same arm motions while doing the squats up and down out of a chair. And you can raise the height of the chair with mats or blankets or pillows as needed. The higher the seat level, the easier it is to get in and out of the chair. Next, we're into these marching crunches, we can call them. We're working the core muscles in the front and side abdominals and improving our stamina, endurance, circulation, and balance as we're alternating sides, taking the right elbow over to the left knee and the left elbow to the right knee, and really rotating the torso. And with these and any of the exercises we do, we can experiment with how many repetitions or continuous motions we do, as well as how many sets we do, and how often we do the exercises during the week, finding out for ourselves what works the best for us. Now we're combining these marching crunches with squats. I'm counting reps here, and on the average, staying in the 10 to 15 repetition range for one set of each exercise that we do. Doing more repetitions is fine too, 20 or more even, especially if we feel more reps are needed or desired to sufficiently work the muscles involved. Next, with a big reach and stretch upward, we take a deep in-breath and exhale as we forward bend on down. As we come back upright, we're holding the exhalation out the whole time, which raises the diaphragm up and draws the abdominals tight back toward the spine to help strengthen the core muscles and support the lower back. And in the forward bend, we should go down just as far as we comfortably can while keeping the legs straight, which gives us a nice stretch down the back of the legs. From here, we go into some squats with the arms doing front raises, side raises, and rear raises. Again, we want to maintain a correct squat form. We're strengthening the shoulders as well as the legs here, and improving our stamina, our endurance, and burning calories with all this movement. And in terms of how fast to do any exercise, I suggest a moderate pace of raising the weight, the arms and legs in this case, to the count of 3 or so, and lowering to the count of 3. And this goes for either a body weight exercise, like the one we're doing here, or ones where added resistance, like dumbbells or other free weights, or any other form of weight is used. Some people like to go a little faster, some slower. And of course, some exercises like mountain climbers, the Spider-Man, and burpees, which are coming up soon in this program, are meant to be done at a quicker pace. Next is a side-to-side movement with the arms extended and then on up. which can also be coordinated with the breathing. We exhale as we bend straight to the side and inhale as we come back up, and exhale again going to the opposite side, and so forth. Breathing fully feels so good and is so good for us in so many ways. And we can feel how doing all of this movement in these exercises for life not only burns calories and improves our heart muscle strength and our stamina and endurance, but also greases our wheels, as they say, loosens us up, makes us more limber, and improves our overall range of motion and suppleness in and around our joints, muscles, and connective tissue. Here I'm grabbing a 6-pound weighted ball, or one can use a dumbbell instead, and doing some swing throughs, a great whole body movement, which continues to improve our strength, stamina, and endurance. We want to maintain the correct squat position as we swing the hands and arms down between the legs and then up and behind the head. If this amount of weight seems too heavy for you or too light in doing this and the next few exercises, go ahead and make the necessary adjustment. Marching twists are next, with the same single weight. We're bringing the leg up as far as we can to the torso and rotating over with the arms going to the outside of that leg coming up. We're alternating side to side. This is a great core exercise, as well as one that improves our upper body strength, bone density, coordination, balance, and circulation. And here we're doing a few standing twists with the arms held out in front, continuing the core abdominal and upper body moving, strengthening, and loosening up. We are seeing how far we can rotate the torso and point the belly to the side. And we can quickly tell that holding on to anything with weight out in front of us really gets the core abdominal muscles involved. These are called side-to-side wood chops. While maintaining the correct squat form, we alternate a chopping motion from side to side. We're taking the hands diagonally down to one knee and then coming straight up and then diagonally down to the other knee. The legs, the core, and upper body are all being worked here, and the heart rate and pace and depth of our breathing remain elevated, which means great cardio work and strengthening at once. We are thus helping to boost our metabolism, or the conversion of food to energy, by doing these kind of exercises. And some people actually refer to these as metabolic exercise. And with all of this, we want to really go at it up until the next time we need to take a quick break. So whenever you need to, you can sit down briefly and rest enough in order to continue. Take whatever time you need. I'll talk more about these breaks in a moment. So whenever ready, onward and upward we go. We're doing some side-to-side arcs above the head here, taking the weight down to the side of one leg and making a big arc above the head over to the other side, bending our knees as we do so. So the bottom line with all of this, we're helping to increase, or at least maintain for as long as we can, our muscle tone, strength, and joint support, our bone density, stamina, and endurance, our flexibility, circulation, and balance, all of which tends to decrease, weaken, stiffen, and worsen far too quickly as we age, unless we do something about it. The familiar saying, "use it or lose it," really applies to all of this. Here then we're going into some circles above the head, a few times clockwise and then counterclockwise, and feeling the muscles in the waist and above really working. Now we're widening out our stance and doing some diagonal reach downs and reach ups. We want to keep the legs straight and go down toward one foot with a weighted ball or dumbbell. And then while keeping the arms straight, we reach up and over to the opposite side. Also, it's best to coordinate the breathing with this one to best support the lower back. So in going down to the foot, we exhale and hold the exhalation out until we come back up, which draws the abs tight back toward the spine. And then we breathe in deeply as we reach up to the opposite side. Breathing like this really makes this a good ab exercise, and one that adds strength and support for the low back. Some stepping forward and stepping back lunges with a twisting motion added. Besides its strength, stamina, endurance, and bone density benefits, this exercise also helps to improve our balance. With these lunges, we're twisting with the weight to the side that the leg is going forward on and making sure the front knee stays over the ankle and foot. And it's important to note here that if lunges bother your knees too much, then avoid them and stick with squats instead, even the easiest ones, standing and sitting in and out of a raised chair seat. And this goes for any of the exercises here. If you find that some of the exercises are too difficult or risky to do, that's okay. There's still a lot of variety and workout options for you in this entire Exercises for Life program. If we are able to do this movement, even in a modified way of not dipping down very far, we can feel how this exercise is especially good for our balance. Next, we're dropping down to the ground into a traditional push-up position for this version of a plank. We're holding still and tightening the muscles of the midsection, and thus we are gaining strength and support for the entire abdominal and lower back region. The upper body too is also working and getting stronger by holding this position. From here we go into mountain climbers, one of the great core abdominal strengthening and fat burning exercises there is. We go back and forth with the legs, bringing each thigh up to the midsection as far as we can, at a fairly brisk pace, and feeling the abs really work. The heart muscle and lungs are also getting stronger by the intensity of this exercise and all that we're doing here. And thus our level of stamina, endurance, and overall health are being improved. This is the Spider-Man, another one of the great metabolic exercises there is, or boot camp exercises as they are also sometimes called. Each leg is coming up to the torso and to the outside of the arm on that side. And for those who find these versions of mountain climbers and the Spider-Man too difficult, in a moment I'll demonstrate both of them at a higher and therefore easier angle. First, briefly, we can rest and recover into the child's pose, a commonly done yoga position with the hands stretching forward and the tailbone and hips stretching back to the heels. Up into push-ups then, one of the most tried and true exercises ever. Best to do whatever variation is safest for us. So if full traditional push-ups are too hard, and we can't do very many, or if they bother the shoulders or lower back too much, best to do push-ups on the knees, or push-ups on a bench or at a higher angle or incline. The higher the incline, the easier the push-up. Here, both traditional full push-ups and push-ups on the knees are demonstrated, and in a moment I'll do some low incline push-ups on a bench. Whatever variation we do, we want to keep the back straight with the hands under but slightly wider than the shoulders, and the elbows going straight back and slightly to the sides. First, briefly, and again, into child's pose. And then we go into the most common form of the plank, which is done on the forearms and elbows, keeping the back nice and straight. Holding still in this position and its isometric muscle contraction, and tightening in the midsection for even 30 seconds or a minute or two is plenty. And also one of the greatest core strengthening exercises there is. We are adding support to the low back as lumbar stabilization, and also firming up and being more grounded in our center of gravity, and thus serving our balance as well. And here, as I just mentioned, I'm doing some mountain climbers, the Spider-Man, and push-ups on the bench for those of you who might need or prefer a modified version of these exercises. First, mountain climbers with the same form, taking one thigh up toward the torso, really engaging the abdominals on that side, and then back and forth from one leg to the next. At what pace we can do them to make us work, but still be able to do at least 10 repetitions of them. Then the Spider-Man, taking the leg to the outside of the arm on that side, while we turn the head to that side as well, which really engages the core and side abdominals. Great core strengthening, calorie burning, fat burning, stamina and endurance improving exercise. And then push-ups at a low incline bench. So if even doing push-ups at this angle is still too difficult for you, or you can't do very many, you can try doing them at a higher angle or incline, and a kitchen countertop around the house, a railing, a windowsill comes in handy for doing higher angle or incline push-ups. And resting and recovering whenever we need to is vital, so that we can catch our breath, regain our strength, and continue and complete our workout. And a most productive way to rest is by stretching, and holding each stretch nice and still for at least 10 seconds is suggested. First, here is an upward reach stretch for the arms, shoulders, and upper back. And by exhaling fully with each stretch, while we stretch and lean back over the back of the chair, the whole body naturally relaxes. and we're more able then to find our fullest stretch. This is a forward push stretch. So with our static stretching, as this form of stretching is called, we are gaining added flexibility, suppleness, and range of motion, becoming more limber, and we're improving our posture and decreasing the chance that we'll be stiffer and achier as time goes on. This is a clasped hands behind the head and leaning back over the back of the chair posture stretch. This helps counter the effects of our being hunched over forward so much and getting more round-shouldered with worse posture over time. Doing backward shoulder rolls also helps with this, as we take our shoulders up toward our ears and then back behind the head. Here's a shoulder stretch, or golfer stretch as it's sometimes called. I'm taking one arm underneath my chin and with the hand or wrist on the elbow, pulling the arm up underneath the chin up toward the neck, while my waist faces forward to best isolate the stretch in the deltoid muscles in the shoulder. And then I'm doing the same thing to the other side, pulling the arm underneath the chin up toward the neck while facing forward and holding nice and still in the fullest stretch. Here then is a seated twist stretch, where we put the left hand on the outside of the right thigh and the right hand on the back of the chair and twist to the right, looking back behind us as far as we can. Twisting left with the right hand on the left leg, the left hand behind the chair, looking back over our left shoulder, and so forth. After this brief rest and recovery time, we're up onto our feet again and into squats with bicep curls, as we're cranking the intensity of the workout back up and staying true to the principles of interval training, which is another name for what we're doing. Alternating periods of more vigorous moving and strengthening activity with periods of less strenuous exercise and/or rest, recovery, and stretching time. So with these squats now, we're focused on maintaining the correct squat form. And with the curls, we want to keep the elbows right next to the ribs to better isolate the bicep muscles and strengthen them by making them do all the work in the raising and lowering of the weight. Here and with the next 3 exercises, I'm using 15-pound dumbbells and going at a moderate enough pace to sufficiently sustain the muscle contraction to the point of fatigue, which is how a muscle is worked and strengthened most effectively. You'll want to use the amount of weight that's right for you, using enough to make the muscles really exert themselves, but not so much weight that there's any kind of strain or unsafe contortion of the body or too much soreness later. And we want to be able to do enough repetitions, with at least 10 being a good suggestion. And again, doing more is perfectly fine too, especially if we're using a lighter weight and need more reps to sufficiently work and tire and strengthen the muscles involved. Then I put one weight down and take the single weight and going into a squat with a single weight overhead press and a twist up top. We try to go into a deep squat, getting our elbows as close to our knees as we can, and again maintaining a correct squat form. And if a full squat seems too hard or there's any pain in the knees, either don't go down quite so far, or again, do these or any squats in and out of a chair, with a higher seat level being easier to get in and out of. Grabbing the second weight again, we're holding a squat and doing a rowing motion with both arms, squeezing the shoulder blades together as we do so. We are strengthening in the arms, shoulders, and upper back. And as always, we want to maintain the correct squat form by leaning the torso forward, keeping the head up and the back straight, with our hips going back behind the heels and our knees staying directly over our ankles and feet. Holding this squat position is great for working the leg muscles. And going right into a standing back extension stretch. With the inside of our hands resting at our low back, we arch back and either look up or straight ahead. We relax as deeply as we can into each of these static stretches, holding still and exhaling and inhaling fully. And with any back extension, we want to tighten in our buttocks to best support the lower back. Then we're doing a standing jackknife stretch, we can call it, keeping the arms straight, back straight, and legs straight. As we hang on tight to anything that will support us, we let the low back and hips completely stretch back, letting the body's weight and gravity provide the stretch. This is a great feel-good position for the arms, shoulders, back of the torso, into the tailbone, the hips, and back of the legs. And next, a quadricep stretch for the front of each thigh. We grab the top of one foot, take it up, and pull the heel of the foot toward our backside as much as we can. We then do the same thing with the other leg. If this form of a quad stretch seems too difficult or not possible because the knee can't bend enough, you might try grabbing a pant leg and back, or resting the top of one foot on a chair and dipping down to get the stretch. And lastly, a standing hamstring stretch. We put one leg onto a chair, point the foot straight up, and while keeping the whole leg straight, we lean the torso down as far as we comfortably can. We then do the other leg the same way. And one other thing we can do here, or at any time, is to give ourselves a little massage with the knuckles right into the sacroiliac, the piriformis muscle, and sciatic nerve channel, where the tailbone meets the hip and tightness and soreness can occur. Just digging in there up and down or side to side feels good. Back into more vigorous movement we go. Much more vigorous movement with burpees. Another great metabolic boot camp exercise. These maximize our calorie burning, fat burning, and help to increase our stamina, endurance, and bone density big time. And no doubt it's one of the hardest exercises. I'm jumping my feet to the rear and then back to the front. You can also make a jump at the end for an added bit of exertion if you want. And jumping and landing is one of the best things that we can do for our bone density. And a modified version can be done by using a bench, even throwing in a push-up on the bench if we want. So I stretch up, drop my hands to the bench, hop the feet back, do a push-up, hop the feet forward, and so forth. Still plenty of good work, benefiting us all plenty, but usually more doable than the traditional burpee. And then back to the chair for another brief rest. Bench climbing is next. Up and down we go, and we can alternate legs here. Up with the right leg, down with the right, up with the left, down with the left, and so on, to make each leg work equally hard and to force ourselves to really focus and pay attention. That's always good. However, if the typical workout bench is too high for our leg strength, or we get too winded too quickly, or if our knees or our current sense of balance feel too much at risk, we can use the stairs in our house or any raised surface to go up and down. This is a great leg strengthening and stamina, bone density, and balance improving exercise. Down on the bench we go to do tricep bench dips for the back of the upper arms. We want to keep the tailbone close to the bench for the safety of the shoulders. And for some people whose shoulders may be bothered by this no matter what, there are alternative ways to work the triceps. And also it can be noted that the straighter the legs, the more weight is lifted by the triceps and shoulders, and the harder the exercise. So keep the legs bent or halfway between straight and bent if this makes the exercise more doable for you. Resting we go again by stretching, holding still in our fullest stretch, relaxing and breathing into it, fully exhaling and inhaling. First, with a tricep stretch, we are resting a hand between the shoulder blades, grabbing the elbow of that arm and gently, slowly pulling the arm back. We do both arms, of course. Then we stretch upward with the clasped hands turned inside out for the shoulders, arms, wrists, and hands. Then we're clasping the hands behind the torso at the level of the tailbone or so, and raising the arms up. We want to keep the palms up for the best stretch here, and raise the arms up to really draw the shoulder blades together. This is one of the best posture stretches there is, to help counter the tendency to be more round-shouldered and hunched over as time goes on. Next, I'll be rolling onto the back, onto the bench, to do a combination of free weight upper body work and core strengthening. First, I'll be doing some free weight chest presses. So we want to find the right weight for us, with enough resistance to make the muscles work, but not so much where there's any strain or loss of control or too much muscle soreness later. I'm using a pair of 25-pound dumbbells here for these chest presses, which may be too heavy for some people and too light for others. It's on the lighter side for me, but here's an example of preferring a lighter weight with more repetitions to work the muscles most effectively and safely, without bothering the shoulders too much. Whatever weight we choose, we want to pay close attention to both the lifting and lowering phases of the movement, keeping the ends of the weights roughly parallel to each other, as we also keep the lower back flat to the bench. And with the breathing here, It's best to fully exhale on the exertion or the raising or pushing of the weight and inhale on the lowering phase. As I gather the weights to my chest, I then roll back up, set the weights on the ground, and on to the bench I go again for some core strengthening work. First is a simple crossover crunch, we can call it, as I take one elbow at a time over to the opposite knee. So right elbow goes over to the left knee as the torso comes up and rotating over. You can coordinate the breathing with this too, exhaling as we raise up into the crunch and inhaling as we go back down. And here I am going to the other side now with the left elbow over to the right knee. Exhaling as I come up, inhaling as I go back down. And this can also become a bicycle-like motion if both legs can be held up at the same time, alternating elbow to knee or as close as we can come to it. Taking my right elbow to my left knee, left elbow to my right knee, extending the leg out while the other one comes up toward the torso. And then hugging by my knees back up to my chest is a nice place to go next. And after rolling back up, I grab a pair of 15-pound weights for chest flies. We want to take the weights up to the torso and then lower back down to the bench. As we then take the weights out to the sides, slowly and evenly. Elbows slightly bent, with the upper arms going down to about parallel to the ground. And then we bring the weights up to just above the chest. They can touch lightly if you like up top, or not. Nice and slow and controlled. We can coordinate the breathing with this also. Inhaling as we take the weights down, exhaling as we bring them up. Inhaling, exhaling. Again, staying in the 10 to 15 repetition range is a good basic suggestion. Doing more repetitions if you feel you need to and want to, especially if you're using a lighter weight and need more reps to work and fatigue the muscles most effectively. So if rolling back up to come upright with the weights is too hard or not possible, we can slowly lower one weight at a time to the side and then down to the ground and come back up however we will. Some people like to grab a knee as I just did and rock a bit to utilize momentum in rolling back upright. And here I'm doing a pullover, holding one 25-pound weight on its end, rolling back onto the bench, and then extending the weight straight above to the top of my head or so, and then coming up toward the top just above my face. And I like doing these with the legs up in the air as well, so that the core abdominals get worked here too. And again, coordinating the breathing if you would like. Exhaling as we come up with the weight above the face, and inhaling as we take it back to above the head. core is getting work, upper body, back of the torso, triceps, shoulders, chest. Legs are working here too as they're being held up above the ground. And then whenever ready, we rock back up and set the weight on the ground. And then we can do a seated forward bend hamstring stretch, keeping the legs as straight as we can and reaching down toward the feet and the ground as far as we can, and relaxing and releasing and breathing into the stretch. Pointing the feet up and keeping the legs wide helps get the stretch all the way down the inside and back of the legs and into the calves and ankles as well. Next is a seated twist stretch, keeping the knees together and facing them forward to feel the stretch best in the low back, sacroiliac, hips, and ribs. We put the right hand on the outside of the left thigh and the left hand back behind us holding onto the bench. We then turn and twist and look to the left over our left shoulder. We then do the same thing to the other side. Holding the outside of the right leg with the left hand, put the right hand back behind us on the bench, turn and twist and look back over our right shoulder as far as we comfortably can. It's getting a nice stretch in the neck as well as in the low back and other related areas there. Next is the shoulder stretch or golfer stretch again, which is a nice one to do after doing the free weight upper body work, especially the chest flies. So I'm taking one arm by the elbow and drawing the upper arm underneath the chin up toward the neck as far as I comfortably can, keeping the waist facing forward, and then doing the same thing to the other side. Taking the elbow with the hand or wrist and drawing the upper arm up underneath the chin toward the neck. Great stretch for the shoulders, the deltoid muscles, especially in the shoulders. Back to moving and cranking the intensity of the workout back up. First, we can do some marching with big arm circles, lifting each knee as far up as we can and making a big circle with the arms going out to the side and then up above the head, moving and loosening up and breathing. And ditto with these squats with swim strokes, as we're elevating our heart rate, body temperature, and respiration. Moving, strengthening, and loosening up with the backstroke, freestyle, breaststroke, and butterfly. As we come out of each squat, we are simulating a swim stroke and alternating sides, doing 3 or as many as you'd like of each stroke on each side. Go ahead and modify the arm's range of motion if need be, or how far up and back and to the side and forward you go with the swim strokes. Opening up. Loosening, increasing our range of motion, becoming more limber and supple, as well as increasing our stamina and endurance, leg strength, and upper body strength. Then we can do squats with reach downs, front raises, upright rows, and overhead presses. We hold a free weight. These are 10 pounds for me here, and again, you want to choose the right weight for you, and squat, maintaining a correct squat form. We take the right hand down to the ground and then do a front raise 3 times here. Then we squat, reach down to the ground, and then take the weight above the head diagonally to the right 3 times. And then we do the same thing with the left hand. Front raise 3 times or as many times as you'd like. And again, with the right weight for you. And then a reach down and reach up, going diagonally out to the side. And strengthening, moving, elevating heart rate, body temperature, respiration, burning calories, and all those good things. And here is a favorite of mine, a lunge dip movement with knee lifts. We hold a dumbbell in each hand, and these are 5 pounds for me. Again, you want to choose the right weight for you. And we position ourselves in a lunge position with the left foot ahead. We dip down and take our right elbow down to the left knee, and then come back up with the right knee being lifted up to the torso and the left elbow going down to it. Crunching motion, really engaging the abdominals as the elbow goes to the knee. And here's another view of the same side here with the right elbow going down to the left knee. Seeing how far back the leg is placed so we can keep the front knee directly over the ankle and foot on that side. We repeat this however many times we do, and then we switch sides with the right foot ahead and the left elbow going down to the right knee, the right elbow coming down to the left knee as it comes up, again stepping back far enough to maintain a correct lunge position with the front knee directly over the ankle and foot. Really engaging the abdominals as we bring that knee up to the torso as far as we comfortably can. Rotating the torso, maintaining balance. And here too, a side view of this. To show how far back the back leg is and must go to keep the front knee rightly aligned directly over the ankle and foot. Turning to being lengthwise on the bench now, we're now doing 2 of my favorite abdominal core strengthening exercises, V-tucks and V-sit twists. Bringing the thighs up to the torso and the torso to the thighs as much as we can. With the V-tucks, we want to keep the legs together to isolate and make the abs work best as we hold on to the bench and do this motion. With the V-sit twists, we are holding our hands out in front and rotating, going to the outside, side to side, and taking the hands and arms to the outside of the leg, coming up to the torso. These can be done either on the bench or on the ground. Feels a little too unstable to do them on the bench. You might try them on the ground. And then hugging the knees back up to the torso, and then down into a forward bend hamstring stretch once again. Keeping the legs as straight as we can, and reaching down toward the feet as far as we can, and relaxing and releasing and breathing into the stretch. Pointing the feet up and keeping the legs wide helps get the stretch all the way down the inside and back of the legs and into the calves and ankles as well. Just reaching down as far as we comfortably can while still keeping the legs straight. Then we can do a seated back extension, similar to what we did earlier on our feet, with the hands at the low back, fingers down, palms up as we arch back and look up. And then a seated twist stretch, keeping the knees together and facing them forward to feel the stretch best in the low back, sacroiliac, hips, and ribs. Putting the left hand on the outside of the right thigh here with the right hand back behind us and holding on and looking back over our right shoulder. And back into a supine or lying on our back position again on the bench for various forms of reverse crunches, we can call these, with the legs coming up toward the torso. These are just straight leg lifts, taking the legs down as far as we comfortably can, keeping the back flat to the bench. And these, I have my hands clasped behind the head and raising the head up as well as the legs coming up. Doubles the effort and exertion and ab strengthening capacity of this when both the head is coming up and the legs are coming up. These we can call roll-ups, holding onto the bench by my head, bringing the legs up and lifting the tailbone up off the bench. And then a little bit further with ceiling kicks as we lift up even higher off the bench with the low back and tailbone. Again, you want to do these however is safest for you to do. So not coming up very high with the tailbone and low back if that's best for any of us. And then hugging the legs back up to the torso for a nice rest afterwards. And rocking back up. Briefly resting. Now for some weighted bar or body bar exercises. Most gyms have them. This is a 15-pound bar, and again, you want to use the right weight for you. The gym I work in has bars that weigh 9, 12, 15, and 18 pounds. And if you don't have access to a body bar, you can always use free weights to do these same exercises in a modified fashion. The first exercise is with the bar or weights resting on our shoulders and doing a twisting motion. This is a great loosening up and strengthening for the back and sides of the torso. It's usually best to look straight ahead, both for balance sake, if our balance is particularly shaky, and to watch our form if we're doing these in front of a mirror. We want to rotate the torso as far as we can, pointing our belly as much to the side as possible. Here I'm doing what are commonly called good mornings. This is a great strengthening and loosening up movement for the back of the torso and the back of the legs. We want to keep the back straight, legs straight as we go forward and down with the torso, hinging from the hips, keeping the head up, which helps keep the back straight and safe. We go down with the torso enough so the back is about parallel to the ground, lower back strength and flexibility permitting. And as we come upright, we can arch back a little bit as we're doing a little back extension out of the forward bend. Keeping the head up helps keep the back straight. And then next, we're doing a squat motion with an upright row and overhead press. We squat down, maintaining a correct squat form, bring the bar to the chest and then up above the head into an overhead press. Nice and slow and controlled. And my preference is to go at a pace to the count of 3 in both directions pretty much. Again, you can go either a little bit faster or some people like to go even slower. Turning the wrists over for some wrist and forearm work here as we transition from the bottom part of the squat into an upright row and an overhead press. And finally, here are some wrist curls, which strengthens the wrists and the forearms and adds strength and support to the elbows in the process. We want to try to keep the forearms still and just use the wrists and moving the bar. This is the standing version of this. We're going in both directions, with the inside of the hand pointing down and moving the bar up and down, and then with the inside of the hand pointing up and moving the bar up and down. Holding anything with weight out in front of us like this, especially using the smaller muscles of the wrists and forearms. And here's the seated version as we're resting the forearms on the thighs and using either the weighted bar that we have in our hands already, or we can use dumbbells or free weights instead. Again, going in both directions. 10 to 15 repetitions with the palms up, moving up and down, and then reversing it with the palms down. Adding strength around our wrists, hands, and strengthening the forearms best supports the elbows. And just shaking the hands loose afterwards. Back to moving again, as we're doing lunges with some big arm twists. As we step forward with the left leg, we reach up and rotate over with the right arm and take the left arm behind the torso and the right leg. We're going side to side with this movement, reversing the previous leg and arm directions. And exercises like this that challenge our balance help us improve it, as we're putting our vestibular system, it's called, to work. And this is the mechanism in our inner ear that senses when we might start wobbling, so that we can then steady ourselves. And if your balance is particularly shaky and you don't feel very secure or safe at all in doing this or any balance exercise, it's good to go slowly and be near something you can grab a hold of. So now I'm grabbing some dumbbells, free weights. These are 10 pounds for me. Again, you want to choose the right weight for you. And we're doing some lunges and combining them in a movement with various arm motions. These also can be done then as squats instead of lunges if lunges are not to your liking or comfortable to do. So here we're doing lunges with bicep curls, again keeping the elbows right by the ribs to best isolate the biceps, make them do all the work in raising the weight as we're just dipping down and up in our lunge. Work on the leg muscles. And here are lunges combined with front raises. We keep the arms straight, palms down, knuckles up as we raise the straight arms right in front of the torso, right to the level of the shoulders. We're doing about 3 of these just as a sample of them on each side. And feel free to do any or all of these for however many repetitions you want. Switching legs again, and lunge dipping with side raises. Again, keeping the arms straight, taking the arms out away from the rest of the body, straight to the sides, just to the height of the shoulders. It's the best and safest to not go above the shoulders with these. Some people like to keep their elbows ever so slightly bent to avoid hyperextending or straining in the elbows. Nice and focused with our attention to keep our balance. And lastly, lunge dips with overhead presses. Keeping the correct squat form as we go down. The front knee staying directly over the ankle and foot, which means we want the rear foot back far enough to maintain that correct lunge form. Just up and down a few times with overhead presses combining with the lunges. And both legs. Again, doing however many repetitions you'd like. And these are just 3 of each on each leg. Setting the weights down, I'm now going to go over and grab the smaller ball. I like to use the smaller ball for these ball-on-the-wall squats, which are an alternative to doing either squats freestanding or in and out of a chair, or a leg strengthening exercise in place of lunges if we're not doing lunges altogether. We place the low back against the ball on the wall. We want to make sure that the feet are well out in front of the rest of the body so that when we squat down, again, the knees stay over the ankles and feet and don't go in front of the toes. We squat down as far as our leg strength and knees will allow. So if the knees are uncomfortable with a fuller range of motion, don't go down quite so far. We can go down and up however many times we'd like. And we can also stay down and sit in the squat position for however long we want and are able before coming back up. Just maintaining this position and its isometric contraction is really making the leg muscles work. Quadriceps especially, the front of the thighs, but also the hamstrings, the calves, ankles, and lower leg. So in putting the ball down, we can go back to the chair for a brief rest. And again and always, if you choose to wind down your workout here or at any time, I might suggest doing the final floor routine that is demonstrated at the end of the video. If you choose to continue your workout, let's go for it. In any case, you might consider incorporating any of what's to follow here into your workouts at some point. Here we go then, back to the free weights, this time on the big ball for another set of presses, flies, and pullovers. And here, with all 3 exercises, our position on the ball should be such, with the head, neck, shoulders, and upper back on the ball and everything else forward of the ball. We're extending the legs, hips, and midsection up toward the ceiling and holding this position, feeling the low back, rear end, legs, and abs really working and getting stronger by holding this isometric position. I'm using these 15-pound free weights or dumbbells with each of the exercises here. And again, you want to find the right weight for you to do these exercises safely and with control. Taking the weights down to the shoulders and then straight up above the head, keeping the ends pretty much parallel to each other. Really focusing, staying grounded in the feet to stay on the ball, and really holding the position with the low back, rear end, abs, legs. Then out to the side with flies. And keeping the upper arms about parallel to the ground as we go out to the sides, and then up above the chest. We can lightly touch them up top if you want. Nice and slow and with control. Again, I like 1, 2, 3 going down, and 1, 2, 3 coming up. Presses and flies work slightly different muscles in the chest, so it's good to combine them, doing one set at least of each. And with these on the ball, I'm using slightly lighter weights than I did on the bench. They're a little bit more challenging here on the ball, especially because we're placing so much emphasis and strength and stability in staying on the ball and holding our position. And then with pullovers, just taking one weight, you can either hold it with both hands like I am now, or like I did previously on the bench, holding the weight on the end, and then on the sides. And taking the weight to just above the head, and then straight up with the arms pretty much straight, really feeling the lat muscles in the upper back working, as well as chest, shoulders, triceps. Breathing with it if you'd like. Inhaling now as we bring the hands and arms above the head, exhaling with the exertion coming up right in front of the torso, up above. And then whenever ready, drawing the weight, bringing the weight down to the torso, walking the feet up toward the ball, nice and slowly, really pushing down into the ground with the feet to bring the seat back to the top of the ball. And still on the ball, I'm into 3 ab exercises I really like. The first is a simple ab crossover crunch, we can call it, which if the other 2 here seem too difficult or awkward to do, you can stick with these easy enough to do crossovers. We want to sit a little forward from the top of the ball, and again staying really grounded in the feet with the hands clasped behind the head. We then go back far enough to feel the abs engage, and then come up and over with the right elbow to the left leg, and then leaning back, coming up with the left elbow to the right leg. The next core exercises are ones with robot-like arm motions. We're toward the front of the ball and lying back at about 45 degrees, or enough to feel the abdominal core muscles really working just to hold us up in this position. And then holding still in the torso, we do these robot-like arm motions. First straight ahead like that, and then in a diagonal rotating direction. Just the motion of the arms with the torso held up makes the abs really work and benefit from this exercise. A seated forward bend stretch feels great after this and any of these core exercises on the ball. Really relaxing the low back as we bend forward, and also stretching the hamstrings in the back of the upper legs. Again, reaching down toward the feet, keeping the legs as straight as we can as we lean as far forward as we can while still keeping the legs straight. This next ab exercise simulates a canoe rowing motion. We're using a weighted bar or body bar. This is a 9-pound one for me, a little bit lighter than we used previously with the body bar. And again, leaning back far enough on the ball to feel the abs engage and just holding this position while rowing our canoe. This motion really gets into the core as well as working the whole upper body, really simulating stroking as if we were sitting upright in a canoe or any form of boat. So keeping the arms straight, really extending out in front of us and then to the side, pulling to the side with the bar, really gets the whole core region. And again, a forward bend stretch. To stretch out the low back in the opposite direction we were just holding it in. Reaching down toward the ground or the feet. And staying on the ball, of course. Keep the heels dug into the ground with the toes pointed up. Then I'm reaching over and grabbing the 6-pound weighted ball again. Again, you can use a dumbbell with this. We're going straight back over the top of the ball and then coming up into a full sit-up. And once we're nearly upright, we're twisting side to side. Staying grounded in the feet. Back stays flat and in contact with the ball. So both the reaching up and coming up is making the abs work, as well as the twisting motion side to side. Again, you want to find the right weight for you. Amazing how heavy 6 pounds can feel when you're holding this position. And then up, forward bending again, stretching out the low back. And then we can follow this with a big circle motion with the weighted ball or dumbbell, leaning back and going to the side and then coming forward and around to the other side, making a big circle with the weight being held above the head and out in front of the torso with the arms straight. Go both clockwise and counterclockwise for however many times we do. Staying grounded in the feet, low back pressed into the ball. This rotation motion as well as coming up with the ball really makes the abs work. These last few are too difficult, challenging, get too sore afterwards. You can always go into just the simple crossover crunch we did at the beginning of this sequence. And whichever ones we do out of any and all of them coming forward into a seated forward bend hamstring stretch. Again, to stretch out the low back. Breathing, releasing, exhaling fully. Helps the muscles relax and let us find our fullest stretch. A seated twist we can do on the ball next. The right hand on the left leg, left hand on the back of the ball. Again, keeping the knees facing forward allows us to get the stretch best in the low back and related areas. If we rotate too much with the knees or the torso, we won't feel the stretch best. Back up onto our feet again for a movement sequence I really like. A side-to-side lunge sequence, we can call this. This is more strength building for the legs, the inside of the legs and quads especially, and also for the upper body, the core abdominals, and for our stamina and balance. And again, we want to keep the knees directly over the ankles and feet by keeping our stance nice and wide, and with these pointing the toes out. As we go side to side, one leg bends, the other stays straight. As we do various motions with our arms and upper body, these are overhead presses. These are diagonal reach downs as we're reaching down to the side that the leg is bending while the other stays straight. And you can feel how this really works the inside of the legs as well as the quads with the bending leg. Stretching down, keeping the back nice and straight. We don't want to want to bend from the waist or the hips here. Keeping the head up helps keep the back straight always. Then a little boxing motion with the side-to-side sequence. So just thrusting nice and slowly straight ahead. And these are 5-pound dumbbells for me. Choose whatever weight is right for you. You'd be surprised how heavy a weight can feel, even a little 3, 4, 5 pounds when you're doing this boxing motion. So nice and slowly, don't want to thrust forward too suddenly for the sake of the shoulder and arm. This is more upper body strengthening, core strengthening, stamina and legs. And then holding the weights together, doing a side-to-side twist, twisting to the side that the leg is bending on. Getting great core work, upper body, legs, stamina, endurance. Burning calories, burning fat. Really working. All right. Continue with movement and keeping the heart rate and breathing elevated. Here are some side straddles with side leg raises. We start with the feet together, hands up, and then step wide to one side. Squat down with the elbows coming down to the knees. And then come back up, bring the legs together, and do a side leg raise to that same side, while taking the elbow down to that leg. Keeping the knees facing forward. Again, head up, back straight. Tailbone, hips going back behind the heels. You can move either more slowly or more quickly. As a cardio exercise, really moving faster does that. And then we do the same thing to the other side. This exercise is targeting the side and corner abdominals as well as all the muscles in the legs. It's great for stamina, improving our bone density as we step down to the ground with this weight-bearing activity. Doing it however many times each of us would like, how slowly or quickly, whatever our stamina and fitness level will allow. And always going at our own pace is the most important thing. Next is this speed skating motion, which I likewise really like for its cardio benefits, as well as for the core and the legs and our coordination and balance. We take the right leg behind the left as far to the side as we comfortably can and reach down to the ground with the right hand. Then we come up and take the left leg behind the right and reach down with the left hand. We're going back and forth from side to side at whatever pace is comfortable for us. Maintaining our balance, fixing our attention in one spot is always best to help us keep our balance. Doing however many repetitions we can start speeding it up a little bit as I'm doing here. Really engaging in the core muscles, legs working, big stretch down toward the ground with the hand, the rear leg going as far to the side behind the one leg as possible. And from here we can drop down again onto the big ball for a nice rest and back extension, which we just spent some time leaning forward with our speed skating motion to relax the back and go in the opposite direction, counterposing it's sometimes called. Using the big ball for this so we can get as much of the body over the face of the ball as we can. We can drop the hips down to the ground as we arch back over the top of the ball. Legs bending, feet staying really grounded. We can straighten out the legs as we stretch back as well. And then as always, counterposing with that back extension with a forward flexion, bending down forward toward the ground, keeping the legs as straight as we can. Again, heels dug into the ground with the toes pointed up. Gets the stretch all the way down the back of the legs as we relax and stretch out the back. And from here, another seated twist. So what we've just done is stretched in the three primary directions: a back extension, arching back over the top of the ball, then coming up and bending forward, the forward flexion going down, and then a twisting motion with the seated twist. And next here, we can do this balancing exercise, which also has leg strengthening benefits as well. This position focuses on our sense of being grounded and being centered in our center of gravity, in the core stabilizing muscles of the abdominals and low back. So we're holding one leg up and staying really grounded with the other foot, and either keeping the leg that's up still or moving it up and down. And all the while paying attention to any possible wobbling and adjusting the body's position accordingly in order to stay on the ball. Moving it up and down or staying still. Again, looking straight ahead with fixed attention is the best for helping us keep our balance. If we want an added challenge, we can move the head from side to side or try closing the eyes with this one, and it becomes extra challenging. Back to a standing position and moving and strengthening at once, this time with some exercises one can do with a simple towel. Just by firmly gripping the towel makes the muscles in the hands, arms, shoulders, upper back, and chest work. And there are great cardio possibilities here as well as we're moving. First, we can do some squats with some pull downs, taking the towel behind the head and really drawing the shoulder blades together as we squeeze the towel with the hands at the same time. Next, we're squatting and coming back up into a rowing motion. Again, upper back, shoulders, arms, chest, really working here as we just bring the towel to the chest, draw the shoulder blades together. Here are some standing twists. And seeing how far to the side we can point the belly. Again, looking straight ahead, I'm looking in a mirror here so I can watch my form, make sure that I'm going all the way to the side. Then with my legs straight, I'm going down to one foot, coming up and over to the other side. Again, we want to keep the legs as straight as we can, so if we can't reach down very far, that's okay. We go down just as far as we can, our thigh or our knee or shin or further down if we're able. Coming back up with a nice big stretch up. Then some side to side bends with the towel above the head and then over to the side. Trying to go straight to the side so the arm and the shoulder on the side that we're bending toward stays directly over the ribs, hip and leg on that side. Really working, engaging the core side abdominals, the oblique muscles. Then with our big arcs like we did earlier with the weighted ball, similar kind of motion, this time holding the towel. So we're making a big arc going side to side above the head, from one leg to the other, bending the knees as we do so, maintaining our correct squat form. And some circles above the head. Again, similar to what we did earlier with the weighted ball. Making the muscles in the waist and above really working. And lastly, some marching crunches, we could call these, similar to what we did at the very beginning of the program. As we go side to side on the outside of the leg coming up, really rotating the torso, working the abs, cardio, it's all good. Next, we can do some work with exercise bands or resistance bands, as they go by various names and have various shapes, sizes, and degrees of resistance. Bands are great as they are light, portable, inexpensive, and can be used in place of weights or if certain exercises are too difficult or not to your liking. So we can start with some straight ahead or horizontal rows. I'm using a medium resistance band and attaching it to this sliding door here in my house and standing far enough away to create enough resistance to work the muscles of the arms, shoulders, and upper back. If you want to use a standard door jamb, the bands that you can buy have the door attachment strap included with instructions on how to use it. So as we pull the bands toward us, we want to feel the shoulder blades squeeze together. And with these rows and the next exercise, it's good to have one foot in front of the other for stability's sake. And one note here with regard to resistance, the thicker the band, the more resistance there is. And even the thinner band can have more resistance by positioning oneself farther away from wherever it's attached. And of course, closer to lessen resistance. Tricep pullbacks are next, keeping the arms straight with the palms facing back and pulling straight back, feeling the back of the upper arms doing the work. This can be an alternative to or in addition to doing the triceps bench dips that we did earlier. And with each band exercise, we want to make sure that with each repetition, we release the band's tension slowly and not let it snap back, so that we're maintaining resistance in both the pulling and releasing direction. Keeping the arms straight, and really feel how the triceps get isolated here and thereby strengthen most effectively, gaining muscle tone back there. Next, with a heavier resistance band here, I loop the band through one of the handles to do 2-arm standing twists, an exercise I really like for core strengthening, as well as for arms and shoulders, upper back, and other areas of the upper body. We want to keep the arms straight and the hands in front of the torso the whole time and rotate from the waist and above. Pulling the band as far to the other side as we can, again standing either farther away from the door to create more resistance or closer to the door to lessen resistance. Really feel the arms work, triceps, shoulders, upper back, as well as the core. These rotation motions with anything with resistance or weight held out in front of us, either a free weight or resistance band, really makes the whole midsection work, core, abdominals. And then we turn and face the opposite direction to do the exercise on the other side. Same motion. We're turning from right to left, keeping the arms straight in front of us. You can either look straight ahead or rotate the head looking side to side, whatever is comfortable. And keeping the knees and the feet facing forward, and just rotating from the waist and above really isolates the muscles in the midsection, core, abdominals the best. And a variation of a wood chop motion can also be done here, taking the hands and arms up and then chopping down. This is often done with the door attachment at a higher angle than coming straight down, but you can also do it as I am here with the lower attachment, just keeping it where it was. You can either do this with the legs straight, as I did right from the get-go with this one, or bending the knees and squatting down. Again, letting the hips go out the back, back straight, heads up, knees staying over ankles and feet. And then doing the same thing to the other side. Reaching up, chopping down, here with the legs pretty much straight, or as straight as we can. You're going to feel this down the back of the legs as we keep the legs straight. Go down just as far as we can while still keeping them straight. And then here bending my knees as I squat down with the chop. Very good. And bands can also be held in between the handles for these exercises. Pull downs in back and pulls to the side in front. Two great exercises for the shoulders, upper back, arms, and chest again. The closer the hands are together, the more resistance is created in the bands. Farther apart for less resistance. With the pull downs, we want to keep the arms straight as we pull the band to the side and behind the head. Drawing the shoulder blades together. Just to the level of the shoulder. If you go down further, the resistance will collapse and you'll start with the hands back up again. With the pulls to the side in front, we're also keeping the arms straight as we stretch the band from in front of the torso to the side and then back to the center. Finding the amount of resistance that's right for us. Bringing the hands closer together if you want to create more resistance, keeping the hands farther apart or less resistance. Taking the band right to the chest, even behind the torso a little bit with the hands, which helps draw the shoulder blades together, really working the upper back. And you can breathe with this, exhaling as you bring the bands toward you, inhaling as we bring the bands back in front. And next, the bands can be placed underneath either 1 foot or 2 for bicep curls. More resistance in the bands is achieved by placing the bands under 2 feet, less resistance under 1 foot. I'm starting the exercise with the bands underneath 1 foot. With bicep curls, the same thing as always. We want to keep the elbows right by the ribs as the handles are pulled up from the sides, palms facing forward, up to the shoulders. And now with 2 feet, to create more resistance in the bands. The same motion, palms facing forward, elbows staying by the ribs, hands starting down at the legs and coming up toward the shoulders. You can see this makes it much harder when we're standing on 2 feet. Now for the pec pulls or chest pulls. Here the band needs to be under 1 foot that is behind the other foot and behind the torso. And with the palms facing forward and the arms straight, the band is pulled forward and up. Keeping the arms straight, isolate the muscles in the chest. Really fatiguing the muscles there, doing as many repetitions as we can, really exerting, working the muscles. And lastly, with upright rows for the shoulders, we want the palms facing back, knuckles forward, as we go right up the rib line with the elbows going out to the sides. As always, nice and slowly for good sustained muscle contraction. Up 1, 2, 3, down 1, 2, 3, or whatever pace you choose. You want to go slow enough to sustain that muscle contraction. That's how the muscles get worked and fatigued and strengthened most effectively. Go too fast and it's more momentum that's doing the work rather than the contraction of the muscle. Very good. And as always, if you want to wind down your workout here, again, doing the ending floor routine to finish in the best possible way is suggested. If you're ready to go and want to incorporate any of these workouts in the future, or go ahead and do them with me now, here we go with some boxing motions. And we're holding a free weight in each hand. These are 5 pounds for me. And punching straight ahead, nice and slowly again, back and forth with a full rotation in the waist. Trying to turn the waist as much to the side as we can. We punch forward a number of times and then go to the sides. Look straight ahead or side to side. Again, if balance is a challenge, looking straight ahead is always the easiest and best way to keep our balance. And wood chops with a twist are next. Here we're doing a classic wood chop motion, as we've done before. This time holding the weighted ball or dumbbell in both hands and going diagonally down to the knee while squatting and maintaining the correct squat form, and then coming up and twisting to the other side. Wanting to find the right weight for us, we're doing however many repetitions we do on one side first before going to the other side, and keeping head up, back straight, knees over ankles and feet, heels out the back. And here we're going to the other side, twisting diagonally down to the right knee, twisting left. Core strengthening, legs, heart rate, body temperature remaining elevated. Breathing. And here now we're simulating a discus throw. We're squatting and starting the twisting motion low on one side and reaching up and ending up high on the other side, with as much rotation in the waist as we can. Going side to side on both sides, starting low, ending high. And look up toward the ball as it goes up high on the one side, or again looking straight ahead if that's best for helping us keep our balance. And then, kind of simulating a golf swing, we want to bring the weight up high on one side and end up high on the other side, with as much rotation in the waist as we can, going side to side. Doing the same swing to the other side. Starting high and ending high on the other side. Really rotating the torso, the waist, knees bending, and rotating as if we were doing a golf swing. And putting the weight down now, these are some straight leg raises with an opposite arm reaching across. This is a great balance exercise as well as one for cardio and our core. We raise the legs straight up in front of us as high as we comfortably can, and with the opposite arm we reach up as far to that foot as possible. We're alternating side to side as we go here. Great for balance, leg strength, flexibility, core strength. And down to the chair for a brief rest. And back up onto our feet again to do some exercises specifically related to improving our balance. Here we're standing on one leg at a time. And fixing attention in one spot makes it easier to balance, as we've noted, as our vision is directly related to the vestibular system of the inner ear I mentioned earlier. So to improve our balance, we can challenge it by making the body adjust in order to steady ourselves. When we do things like changing our sight line, or even closing the eyes briefly, which makes it much harder to balance. And again, if our balance is shaky, we can do this one leg standing near something to grab a hold of if need be. And here is the up, front, back, side movement. For this one, we stand on one leg and take the knee of the other leg up to the torso and then down. And then we take that same leg straight up in front and then down, and then straight back and then down, and then to the side and then down. And exercises like this that challenge our balance help us improve it, as we're putting our vestibular system to work. And this is the mechanism in our inner ear that senses when we might start wobbling so that we can steady ourselves. And if your balance is particularly shaky and you don't feel very secure or safe at all in doing this or any balance exercise, it's good to go slowly and be near something you can grab a hold of if need be. Next are some reach up and reach downs on one leg. First, the easier version. With a dumbbell in the right hand, 5 pounds here for me, and again, choose the right weight for you, we reach down to the left foot while the right leg raises to the rear, and then we come back upright. This one is really great for our balance, as we're not only strengthening the muscles that hold us up, but we're also training ourselves to pay attention, to slow down if need be, in order to find our equilibrium and steady ourselves when we might start to wobble and lose our balance. Bring that leg up in the back just as far as we comfortably can, again tapping it down if need be to steady ourselves, reaching as far down toward the foot that's on the ground as far as we comfortably can. Then we'll do a side angle of this. Again, showing the rear leg going back and the front knee staying as much as we can directly over the ankle and foot. Steady attention to help us keep our balance. Tapping the foot down to the ground. We feel like we're about to lose our balance. Then we do the same thing to the other side. We'll be taking the left hand down toward the right foot, bringing the left leg back behind us, far up as we comfortably can with the leg, and still keep our balance as far down to the foot on the ground as we can. Knee will slightly bend with this one. Doing a side view of this same exercise. And then the more challenging version of this exercise. We reach up with the right hand and then down to the left foot while the right leg raises to the rear. Then we reach up above the head with the right hand while the right knee comes up to the torso, and then we crunch down to the right knee with the right elbow. Again, if this is too challenging, we stick with the previous exercise where we're not reaching up and crunching down with the elbow to the knee, but just reaching down and up. Tapping that right foot down if it helps us keep our balance. And doing the same thing now to the other side. Reaching down toward the right foot with the left hand, reaching up above the head with the left hand, coming down with the left elbow to the left knee coming up, tapping the foot down whenever we need to. Really isolating the muscles of the lower leg. These muscles hold up all the rest of us, so gaining strength and confidence and muscle memory in the lower leg muscles is key to helping us keep our balance. Another side view of this one. Again, if our balance is particularly shaky, as always, we can do this next to something we can grab a hold of. Next, we can put the weight down and do some simple heel and toe rocking, which is a great way to strengthen the lower leg muscles in both the front and back of the leg, as well as maintaining and improving our balance while doing the movement. Rocking back on the heels, we naturally lean forward a little bit with the torso so we don't fall backward. Coming up on the balls of the feet, the torso is nice and upright. So rocking back on the heels isolates the front of the lower leg, the tibialis muscles, and the coming up on the balls of the feet gets the calves in back. Again, these muscles hold up all the rest of us, so it's good to strengthen them, give them good muscle memory, and have confidence in them. And down on the ground. And this is the ending floor routine that I previously mentioned and suggest completing any exercise session with, however long or short the rest of the workout is for each of us. I like to do this in bare feet as if I were in a yoga class doing these and other similar stretches and postures. So this is the first supine twist stretch, and the 3 variations of this stretch are probably the best thing we can do to keep the low back in good shape, as well as strengthening in our core muscles. We're taking the legs down to the ground on one side while we keep the opposite shoulder down on the ground as much as we can. This best isolates the stretch in the low back, while the head looks in the opposite direction that the legs are going in. We first went over to the side with the right with the legs, and now here we're to the left with the legs, with the right shoulder staying on the ground, the head looking over to the right. And then we do the second supine twist stretch. Cross the left leg over the right and let the legs go down to the ground to the right while the head looks left and the left shoulder stays grounded. We want to hold each of these stretches for at least 10 or 15 seconds, and longer is even better here. Really relaxing into it. As then we come up and over to the other side, with the right leg crossing over the left while the legs go to the left. The head looks right and the right shoulder stays nice and grounded. Into the third supine twist stretch, with the right leg crossing over the left leg while both legs go down to the ground to the right. The head looks left here and the left shoulder stays on the ground. This is the opposite direction of the opposite leg cross from the previous second supine twist stretch. Then we uncross the legs, recross them, and do the same thing to the other side with the left leg crossed over the right, while the legs go to the left, head looks right, and the right shoulder stays nice and grounded. Relaxing, breathing into the stretch again, fully exhaling helps muscles relax, and let us find our fullest stretch. And next, these windshield wipers, we can call them, are great for both a stretch and a strengthening in the core abdominals and low back. We bring the legs up and with the arms extended out to the sides, with the palms down, we then go side to side with the legs, as far over as we can, and still be able to get the legs up and all the way over to the other side. The straighter the legs, the harder the movement is. More core strength is required and achieved. So keep the legs bent if this makes this movement more doable and safer for you. The key is to get the legs all the way to one side and then up and over to the other side. So much easier when the legs are bent, which they are here as we go side to side. Next, a nice hugging of the knees back up toward the torso, clasping the hands over the knees, hugging thighs to midsection. Always a nice place to go next for a rest stretch. And of course, there are many other supine core strengthening exercises that we can do, various rotation movements, for instance, like these supine twists here as we keep the hands together and go side to side on the side that the leg is coming up toward the torso on while the opposite leg straightens out. We can also do these big flutter kicks with arm twists, going side to side. The legs pretty much straight, really rotating the torso over with both arms to the outside of the leg coming up toward the torso. Hugging the knees back up to the midsection again. And next, we can reach over and grab the weighted ball. Usually best to do this with the ball and not the free weight as we go in a figure 8 motion in and around the legs, which are going in a similar bicycle motion that we've done. Keeping the head up as well as moving the legs and rotating the torso and using something with weight is really getting the core muscles working big time with this. And most gyms have weighted balls that will be in various weight amounts. Again, this is a 6-pound ball. Putting the ball down, hugging knees to torso. And next, we extend the legs straight up and reach up with the arm straight going above the head and coming up toward the legs. And the legs are coming up toward the torso. So again, everything's working here at once. Really an effective core exercise. If it's too hard to have the legs moving, you can keep the legs extended up toward the ceiling and nice and still and just reach up with the arms. The arms can either go from straight above the head and up to the legs or go out to the side and then up. And then hugging back up once again. Great place to go next to relax out the lower back, rest from the strenuousness of the exercise. And from here, we can go right into the bridge stretch or a supine or lying on our back extension here. It's a commonly done pose or position in yoga class. Extending up through the low back, hips, legs. We can do anything we want with the hands, either out to the side or we clasp them underneath our backside for a further stretch in the shoulders. We can walk the feet up toward the rest of the body also to further the stretch up. And how good it is to feel the whole torso breathing fully and deeply, rising on in-breath and falling on out-breath. And we can also do a movement, a strengthening and stretching combination here. And here I have my hands above as we go up and down. And we can go right into the eye of the needle, it's sometimes called, or figure 4 stretch. As I'm crossing my left leg over on my right thigh, extending my hands through the legs, the space between the legs, and either clasping my hands behind the thigh, or if we can reach, clasping the hands over the knees, which is a further stretch, bringing the legs to the torso even further. Really feeling this stretch in the sacroiliac, sacrum, sciatic nerve channel, places that can often be stiff and tight and sore. Here, clasping my hands behind the thigh, with the right leg crossed over the left. Just doing the opposite side now. Clasping my hands over the knees for a further stretch. We want to make sure that we relax the head, neck, and shoulders back on down to the ground. As we bring the legs as far up toward the torso as we can. Really getting the stretch in the hip, sacroiliac, sacrum, sciatic nerve channel area. Then we're rolling on over. And into a prone or face down on the ground back extension, sometimes called the cobra or sphinx in yoga classes. We want to keep the legs, hips, pelvis on the ground and come up with the torso just as far as we comfortably can, lower back flexibility permitting. Here I am able to push down into the ground and raise the torso up, keeping legs, hips, pelvis on the ground. You can either come up all the way with arms straight or back down onto the forearms and elbows or somewhere in between. And then back up and back on our haunches in the perfect complementary or counter pose position to the back extension, the child's pose. Tailbone, hips stretch back toward the heels, knees bending as much as comfortably can, the forehead on the ground, hands stretching forward to the front of the mat. Whole body lets go. And up we come into a kneeling lunge. Stretch next for the hip flexor muscles especially, which run from the abdominals down into each thigh and also have a lot to do with the well-being of the lower back. So the front foot is far enough in front to keep the knee directly over the ankle and foot. We should feel the stretch run down into the rear leg and also raise the hands and arms up for a nice stretch in the ribs, shoulders, and arms as well. These concluding stretches are all about finding the fullest stretch that's unique to each of us, as all our stretches are really, and ones that we can settle into, relax into, and breathe into, and hold still for at least 10 to 15 seconds, and longer is always better here, especially with these ending stretches. Raise the arms up as we're now doing the kneeling lunge stretch to the other side. And by doing this regularly, every day if we can with our stretching, is how we gain added flexibility and range of motion over time, how we become more limber and supple and greatly decrease the chance of getting stiffer and achier as we age. Spreading our wings here, drawing the shoulder blades together, another good posture stretch. We'll back up on our feet and over to the chair to finish with some chair stretches. And again, a regular stretching routine helps us loosen up, become more limber and supple, and reduce the tendency for worse posture, inflammation in the joints, lower back discomfort, and other degenerative painful conditions. First with an upward reach stretch, stretching up through the ribs, shoulders, arms, hands, leaning back over the back of the chair if we can. A forward push stretch here. And then the clasped hands behind the head stretch. And also, just as important, our stretching helps relax the nervous system and increase the openness and elasticity of our entire vascular network, arteries, veins, and capillaries. And along with sustained movement exercise or aerobic exercise, helps to increase the flow of oxygenated blood and other nutrients to the brain and everywhere else in the body. Exhaling fully. Well, there you have it. A lot to choose from. And that's intended as each of us may be drawn to different exercises at different times. And variety is good in continually stimulating muscle units most effectively and keeping our interest and creativity going strong. So changing the exercises and their sequence periodically, or as often as we want, is suggested and encouraged. Any of the exercises in the entire program can be mixed and matched with any others. Even the easier routines can be made more invigorating and challenging by doing them at a quicker pace, with increased numbers of repetitions, of sets, and greater amounts of resistance used. And vice versa, the more difficult exercises can be made easier by modifying them, slowing down the pace, or by using lighter weights with less range of motion, with fewer reps, and more rest in between the exercises. And in terms of the frequency of our workouts, the exercises in this program that are purely movement-based, or ones using only the body's weight or lighter free weights for resistance, can be done as often as we'd like, any day and every day if we want. And this includes most certainly our stretching regularly, our doing yoga or Tai Chi, a martial art, a sport, or any aerobic exercise, like an aerobics class or walking, jogging, biking, or swimming. However, when it comes to the exercises using much more resistance in the form of heavier free weights, dumbbells, barbells, exercise bands, and such, these are best done with at least a day of rest and recovery in between. One workout possibility might be 4 to 5 days a week of 30 to 60 minutes of movement-based and body weight exercise, including stretching or a yoga class, and any of the above activities, aerobic or otherwise, which can be done daily, with 2 to 3 of those days including exercises that incorporate more added weight or resistance, specifically designed to increase the strength, tone, and density of our muscles, connective tissue, and bones. And again, with all of these exercise options, there should be at least a day of rest and recovery in between workouts where much more added weight or resistance is used. A second workout option might be 3 to 4 days a week of 30 to 60 minutes of movement-based body weight and stretching exercise or a yoga class, with at least 2 of those days incorporating added weight exercises. And this kind of routine would best include an additional 2 to 3 days of aerobic exercise in the form of walking or jogging, biking, swimming, or an aerobics class. And a third option might be 2 to 3 days a week of 30 to 60 minutes of movement-based body weight, added weight, and stretching exercise or a yoga class, with 3 additional days of aerobic exercise in the form of walking or jogging, biking, swimming, or an aerobics class. All in all, may what's presented here help us in working out in whatever ways we will, so that we may feel for ourselves the benefits that good regular exercise brings. This does require our intention and effort, but what better way to channel these? So all in all, this is the kind of exercise that strengthens our muscles, heart, and bones, rejuvenates our cells, helps us get leaner if we need to, and improves the body's circulation, posture, and the openness of our entire vascular network and the flow of oxygenated blood to the brain and entire body. The kind of exercise that improves our stamina and endurance, our balance and flexibility, our energy and vitality, and gives us the best chance at living a long, healthy life. So, all the best to all of you in going for it.